Hello everyone, this is Tim, and I want to report in on the convention that I just went to. The convention I went to is called SIBCON, and it's in Butler, Pennsylvania, and it's one of two conventions that a gaming group that I kind of belong to called Circle of Swords, they run. So they have COSCON, and then they have SIBCON, and they're 6 months apart. Don't really know why they didn't call them the same by the same name. Maybe that was because they wanted to be able to distinguish between the two with the different times of year. But whatever the case, I had a lot of fun. I had a little bit of hard time trying to get my games, get players for them. I tried running Dogs in the Vineyard, and I didn't have any pre-registrations, and no one signed up for the game. It was also on a Friday in an early slot, so it might have just been a case of a bad slot, and no one really knew what the game was about. I tried to describe my game in the kind of like the game blurb pretty well, but no one bit the hook. So I did a lot of preparation for nothing. But I'll be running a few more games of that at the next two cons. So by getting more familiar with the game, it helped me out in the long run. So it's not a big deal. I also tried to run a World of Darkness game just with mortals, and I guess that wasn't flavorful enough, and I didn't really get any players for that one either. But same thing, I getting more familiar with rules that I know I'm going to use in the future is not a bad thing. I did happen to have my Labyrinth Lord game had 3 players, so I was really excited because that was actually the first time I had ever ran that system, and it was a father who had played Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, and his 2 teenage daughters that came to play. And they were really just brand new to role-playing in general, so it was good that I think that the system was pretty simple, and I just kind of helped them through the process, and I basically just told them, whatever you want to do, whatever you think you want to try, just let me know what you want to do, and we'll figure out what you need to roll, or if it just happens. And it was really cool because they started out being a little shy at first and not really knowing what to do. And by the end of the game, they were laughing, and they were, I kind of gave them a little warning ahead of time. It's like, when you bump into stuff, I'm going to talk in funny voices, lurch around, maybe even stand up, And they really seemed to, I don't know, they seem entertained. So that was good. That, I mean, as a GM, that's really what you want to do. You want to make sure that your players are having fun. And they had fun. In fact, they were like, are you going to run this next time? Can we see you in 6 months? Are you going to run this game again? So I will definitely run that game again, and hopefully they'll show up. So that'll be cool. But I had a lot of fun with that game, so it was good. I got to play in a D&D 3.5 game that was like an evil take on things. I got to play this little goblin guy, and I made him a rogue, and I intentionally didn't take the open lock skill. And my character's background, my father didn't teach me that, and it totally screwed up the adventure, but in a good way. They're all like, "Oh, you're a rogue, right? Why don't you go open that lock?" I'm like, yeah, my dad never taught me how to, pick locks. Yeah, I can't do that. So, and I had to just talk in a little goblin voice the whole time. I had a blast, and there was a kind of a point where the players were like semi-pissed at me, but then when I explained why I didn't have the skill, they kind of chuckled and started laughing. And then there was just some out-of-character comments the rest of the session, like, well, if you would have picked open lock, this would have been a lot easier, But it made it more memorable, because instead of me just rolling a dice and, okay, we're in the the dungeon or whatever we need to get to, we had to do all these things, like try to sneak in, steal keys from people that were sleeping in the barracks there, and lots more. It just made it more memorable because we had to, instead of going the direct method, we had to go the roundabout method and do something different. And I had a blast. That was a good time. I also got to play in a Serenity game, and there was a lot of intra-party conflict, and the players that we were with were very loud. I kind of felt bad for some of the other games that were near us because they would laugh like really loud. The one guy, it was, I don't know. It was a lot of fun, but our volume level was definitely on the high side, and some of the tables were kind of close together. So I looked over, and I think it was an RPGA table that was beside us, and I don't think I heard them once. You know, you could look over, see them talking or whatever, but I really didn't hear them. But yeah, we were loud. But it was really, that Firefly game probably was one of the most memorable games I've ever played in a long time. I was laughing. I think I was crying at one point just from just everyone stayed in character pretty much the entire session, and they were irate in character, or they, you know, it was really cool. It was kind of a thing where everything just kept going wrong, no matter what we did. You know, people were lying to us, or we'd get to the part where would be the end of the transport, and you know they wouldn't have their money, so we had to do this other stuff to get our money. You know, one guy tried to give us corn instead of credits because he didn't have any credits, even though he said he had credits. I had a blast. It was a great time. In addition to the games that I ran and played, I took some pictures. So I don't know, some of them are pretty bad, but I'll show you those right now. So yeah, the convention was a lot of fun. I took some pictures of their logos and everything, and like the sign up sheets and such. And some of these other pictures are just of some of the vendors and as they were setting up things and who was setting to play miniatures games. There's a lot of miniatures games here, and I took some shots of those because I've always thought they were pretty impressive to see. One guy was running stuff for the LARPers and the vampire people that play stuff, and I've never really been a big fan of that. I've never really tried it, but at future conventions I might actually give it a go because there were times when I couldn't find a game to play or something that wasn't interesting. And these shots right here are basically of the evil D&D 3.5 game we played, and we had to blow up, you know, different sections of the map for this evil Githyanki woman, female, I guess you would say. But yeah, some of these shots are just really impressive of the miniatures, and look at all that paint job that they did on that one thing. That one was impressive with like an inside kind of thing. They were like Space Marines, I believe. And yeah, the tables were just set up, and there was kind of like barriers, and that's like the sign-up section. I really found some really good items here at the vendors. I always find good stuff. Last year I found, or 6 months ago I found the Tecmo stuff. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, hopefully I didn't bore you too much with those shots I took. But some of those miniatures and the miniature battles were very impressive to see, especially that one with the Space Marines, because there was like 8 people playing one major battle, and they had like time limits for, okay, you got 2 minutes to move stuff, and if you don't, your stuff doesn't move. So like it kept the game moving. So that was pretty impressive to see. But I wanted to show you some stuff that I picked up. I picked up, apparently, as Big Hera lets me know, the original printing of the Keep on the Borderlands for Basic Dungeons and Dragons. He said this was actually made for Holmes edition of so I don't know, I thought that was pretty impressive. I also got a non-Wizards of the Coast red box. This is the old TSR version, and I don't know, this thing here over here says like 1983, and it's a little beat up, but I believe it has just about everything in it. And I only got this for $5, so I thought I got this for a really, I don't know, kind of like a steal, because I've never even seen this for sale anywhere else. I guess maybe on, you know, online or whatever, but I just mean at a convention. I picked up what I believe is the first edition of the Mongoose RuneQuest game, and I don't know, like I wanted to find the older version, and I actually did after I purchased this. I went to another person, and lo and behold, I found this, which, from what I've kind of gathered online, is the second edition of RuneQuest, and this is actually reproduction, exact reproduction, and they have the nice cover here. I think Louise did this in the artwork there, and the inside. Sometimes I think I like the inside better than the jacket for books. I don't know. I just think that looks classy. I don't know. But I've always kind of wanted to get into the RuneQuest stuff. BRP is kind of a newfound love for me. So I've often heard that RuneQuest, and especially the Glorantha setting, is very interesting, and there's a lot of diehard fans for it. So I was very happy to get a hold of this book, and it was a little bit expensive, but at the same time, I'd never seen that anywhere else at any gaming store, and let's be honest, some of the gaming stores really, they're from like Magic the Gathering players, maybe around here like War Machine, like miniatures kind of stuff. And a lot of that old stuff you don't really find unless you get like used bookstores. I found this one. It's just like a classic Dungeons and Dragons. I'm guessing it's like basic expert, but it might be more. I don't know. It might be this might be kind of like a restatement of back me. It looks newer, so I'm guessing it was kind of just like a last minute thing before they stopped doing classic Dungeons and Dragons. I think this was actually made in the 90s, so I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit newer than that. And I actually got the Monster Manual 2 for first edition, and I actually got this for free. The vendor had basically like a buy two get one free thing, so I bought that RuneQuest book and some other things, and I got that one for free. So I was pretty excited. But overall, I had a good time at SIBCON, and I'm looking forward to going to CosCon in about 6 months, and hopefully the games that I run will get players. I think I'm going to try to focus on either maybe trying to run a Firefly game, since that one filled up very quickly when I played in it, or just basically fantasy RPGs, because I tried to splash out with like the Supernatural Western and World of Darkness, and it really didn't. I don't know. It didn't really go. I think maybe the World of Darkness fans that usually go to the LARP, so that might be a problem with that. So in the future, I might have to kind of trim my GM taste to player appeal. But thanks for watching. And for Alkov, I am reading the Game of Thrones book. I'm about, 2/5 of the way through it. I'm really enjoying reading through this. It's a bit crunchier than my tastes, usually, but I think for the setting, since the setting is kind of complex and there's so much complex social interaction in the games and the books, I think it fits. But hopefully in the near future I will be doing a Game of Thrones review, and Alkov should be happy. Alright everyone, I'll talk to you later.